Charming is a new Netflix animated movie that drops this Friday, and despite that title, it is not charming. Um, why'd I watch this movie? Well, I watched Snow White and Red Shoes because a YouTuber I like, Saber Spark, made a video on it, and I enjoyed that video, and I was like, I am gonna watch this movie and check it out when it releases on Blu-ray, and I did, and I reviewed it a while back, and I enjoyed it, and I thought it was okay. So I was like, you know what? This movie doesn't look great, but maybe it could be something like that because we have a similar concept, right? We have a spoof on fairy tales that plays around with elements we know. Like this movie plays around with the whole Prince Charming angle. And does it do a great job? No. It let me think. No. No, it does not. So the kind of spoof idea with this movie is that Prince Charming is cursed to end up destroying all love in the land because he's the most charming guy in the land, and he must find his true love, but he doesn't know what love is, and so he's not. So he ends up falling in love with someone who's not a princess, and you see where this is going. Okay, here's a big issue with this movie. Um, Prince Charming is unlikable. His voice, his design, he's just kind of annoying as a character. And I don't really know how to explain why, but he just is. Um, this movie is not beautifully animated or anything. It's it's not horrible to look at. It's still bad. It's obviously like direct to video levels of quality, which is, it's just I kind of expect more from a company like Netflix. But I know that Netflix didn't make this movie, that they just bought the rights to put it on their platform. And they do this with a lot of animated movies. So there are some like Over the Moon on Netflix where those were actually great movies that Netflix funded, or there were movies like this that were already made and then Netflix just bought the rights to. This movie is also just way too generic. You know where everything's going. Okay, so he has to go on a quest with this thief character who and find his true love. And you know that these two characters are gonna fall in love. They're gonna go through all these trials that he talks about during the movie, and they're gonna do that, and that's what's gonna happen. And there's gonna be a part like in Shrek where they break up and they go along and they're all sad and wow, and then they come back together and they admit their true feelings for each other and then they get married and live happily ever after. That's this. It's weird because this movie wants to be a spoof on fairy tales like Shrek and Hoodwinked, but it's not funny. Number one, those movies are funny, and number two, it's not doing anything that different when you really break it down. It's still, it's kind of like a generic kind of rom-com plot. It's kind of weird. A lot of movies that try to be Shrek just can't do it. And that's because they don't understand what made Shrek work. And what made Shrek work, besides it being funny, was that, well, the twist was smart and played on fairy tales in a way that made sense. This kind of wants to do that, but it doesn't know how to do that, and it does it so poorly. Um, and then this, you know what? I figured out why this character is so unlikable. He tries to be Cusco from Emperor's New Groove. Now, if you haven't seen that movie, it's really funny and you should watch it. But he self narrates many many points in the movie, but there's so few and far between you actually forget he does that. But he isn't funny when he does it. He's also got a huge ego, the character, and so you have this unlikable character. You have this thief character that's also very unlikable because she's unlikable by the nature of what she's doing, in the movie, but she's also just kind of like she's trying to be she's female from Flynn Rider, but without the charisma or energy, and that's what this movie is. This movie is very boring. You know where it's gonna go. It's not very pretty to look at. It's the voice acting is pretty meh. Um, it's just it's nothing. It's a waste of time. Nobody should watch this movie. That's why I did it. So you don't have to. It just this film is nothing. It's a worthless movie. I could see some people saying, "Well, it's fine for kids," but it's really not. You could just show them Shrek or Hoodwinked. Those are better movies for your kid to watch because they're entertaining and better made movies with more heart and effort and care put into them. This movie has no art and effort and care put into it. It just kind of exists because. Yeah, I was. And man, do those hour and 24 minutes drag on forever. By the end of it, I felt like Sleeping Beauty in this movie. I want to go. Another thing I want to mention is there is way too many pop songs in this movie, and none of them fit the tone or energy of scenes. They just kind of randomly show up. Every time they showed up, it was extremely distracting and bad. And I, again, they're trying to be Shrek with the pop songs, but Shrek doesn't just use pop songs. They're actually part of the story and tell the story, and it's part of the universe. So pop songs being used. Sure.